Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Discuss Village Meeting Podcast. This is your hostess, Dr. Maslina Ndidi Aparoji. Again, today we are on our episode 7, series 2. We talk about, in this podcast, all about Africa, society, and culture. And as we have shared in the past, this is all about the food we eat, the clothing, the mannerisms of Africans, whether they're home and the homestead or in diaspora everywhere in the world. So this year we decided to embark on what I call going back to basics, especially for the young ones who they are growing up all over the parts of the world and trying to imbibe the culture of the environment they find themselves in, and those of the cultures that their parents were born with. So they are really grappling with so many cultures together. But as Africans, we as parents would always remind them that, wherever you are in the world, whatever you do, we encourage you to really embrace the culture you are, wherever you are in the world, whether you are born into this culture or you just find yourself in it. But also, those of your ancestors you must also um, inherit. So this is one of the reasons why we are going back to the basics for those things that um, the new world order is trying to overtake, or um, those aspects that we call that civilization has stepped in to overlook. So today we're going to talk about one of those topics that are dear to us. We're talking about the proverbs, especially the African proverbs. It has so many names, and this is a challenge for all of you within Africa or even outside of Africa to find. I believe everybody has one form of proverb or the other going on. So find out what yours is called. The Latins who gave us the Latin language that gave us the origin of this word calls it proverbium. In Igbo land, where I come from, we call it ILULU or ILU, depending on what aspect of the East you find yourself. So we are going to, and this is the reason why I make it visual now instead of just virtual talk, but visual, so that the young ones will know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about the definition. What is a proverb? Many people call it the expression of the people. How do you express yourself? Apart from your dialect, what is it that make up the words you spit out, the expressions you make, the sentences or phrases? Some look at it as a mannerism of using words to convey the deeper thoughts instead of just the what we call the naked word, just to give it the regular deeper meaning in the thought that you have. Some have come to see proverbs as short sayings in um, to portray general truth as piece of advice. And as we delve into it, you will get to know more about what we're talking about. Many have referred to proverbs as adage, our motto, epigram, maxim, you name it. And people quote proverbs often. You will hear that. Even in the Bible, it has been referred as a parable. So again, I'm creating an awareness, and I would like you to go deep, dig deeper into that and find out in your areas how proverbs are used and what they are as far as your own particular local culture is concerned. Some look at it as a simple traditional saying, um, eh, perceived as truth based on common sense or experience. Okay. But, they also are metaphors. Um, Example of formulaic language according to preply.com. So many people have different views. But one thing that I want to make clear here is that, and it took some of us time, including myself, to dig in to know the difference, and that is people often mistake proverbs for idioms. So what are idioms and what are proverbs? Let's attempt to show the difference here. A proverb can be metaphorical. Okay, it gets used as a metaphor, but its meaning is easy to understand. For example, people normally will say, you hear many say, better late than never. Honesty is the best policy. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't bite the finger that feeds you. Strike while the iron is hot. All that, you can see the expression or the design of the language that is plain. Yes. But as far as idiom is concerned, it's a phrase or expression whose literal meaning cannot be understood from the meanings of the individual words. In other words, idioms are deeper than just proverbs. For example, somebody says to you, kill two birds with one stone. That has much more meaning than anything else. Break a leg. Well, those who work in entertainment business, like in theaters and all, those are the ones that will understand that language, like go break a leg. What it means. Hit the nail on the head. Uh, that has deeper meaning also. That is not just literally like that. The early birds get the fattest worm, or the worm. Again, uh, try to make sure you understand the clear difference between idioms and proverbs when you use them. There is a huge importance in the use of um, proverbs. In my book, my little book, Raising an African Child, that I wrote years ago, one of the things that people have told me in their them to the book is my use of um, the African proverbs, which we're going to go more into. I thought, reasoning through that, and when I wrote the book, I started, my chapters will start with an African proverb, and I will walk backwards because that gave me a kind of roadmap to what I wanted to discuss. So you will see each of my chapter has an African proverb, and a few of them are like, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Um, Again, you find that the meaning in this surrounds my thoughts about the children we are bringing up in a different culture. That it's easier to get them where they were little, while they were still infant or when they just came out of the womb, and start to mold them in the way we can help them become what best they can be, than to wait till they are grown, because it's then very difficult to change their ways. It takes a whole village to raise a child. Many people know this one, and it does take a whole village in most African settings, because every child becomes your child. And I bet other cultures also do this without even calling it what it is. The ocean never drowns a person it does not come in contact with. And I used this particular proverb to really um, caution our children how to delve into things they have no really clue about. Parents also to guide their children to not step into things they couldn't get out of. An example I gave for that proverb is when children who are really naive go to the mall and get into stores when there's no adult supervision. They are bound to pick something, they're bound to play jokes. And again, when they are caught shoplifting or something to that matter, they are playing games. They didn't mean to steal anything. But once this gets into their records, they're doomed. So if they didn't go to that mall to roam about, without an adult supervision, they wouldn't have gotten into that kind of pickle. So the ocean never drowns a person it does not come in contact with. If a child washes his hands, he could eat with kings. And I I really delved into that, thinking about children who could become really progressive and productive in the community if they listen to the adults, if they learned, if they really, on the other hand, from the adults got, guided, they would learn the ways of our culture. And as they do that, they will be invited more into things cultural and our ancestral um, actions or activities will be easily handed down. And the last there is rain beats a leopard's skin, but it does not wash out its spots. I was delighted in using this to portray that no matter how we have our children, African children born in diaspora anywhere, despite the fact that they are born in foreign land, doesn't make them less learners of our African culture or less to absorb the African culture. We just have to expose them to that. So no matter how they are outside of their homestead, it does not make them less African. It does not take the culture away from them. We just have to do our part as adults to help them, get to where they have to be culturally. So I give this example as how the African proverbs really touched my heart to use them, and it really, helped me get to the point of what I was trying to make. So before we go into the deeper into African proverbs, which I need to go into my area, my home, what I know best, the Igbo culture. I am from Igbo land, the southeast of Nigeria. And I am using that as an example. I might challenge all the rest of the Africans to use an example or to dig it deep into which cultural aspect they come from, their locals, their communities, and see what they can learn about the proverb usage in their area. So let's talk a little bit about the Igbo proverbs that we call ILULU or ILU IGBO. The Igbo people look at it, they call it Ndigbo Jerioku, which is, like it's a lubricant to the use of the word. These are expressions of the people. Again, in order to understand Igbo proverbs, one really needs to have an understanding of the Igbo language. So that's a challenge for a lot of people because we don't grab that much of the Igbo language. Then it becomes a little bit hard or harder to really engage yourself in the use of ILULU Igbo. The culture, you got to understand the culture, and you also have to get in touch with your environment. Igbo proverb is used all across Igbo aspects of life. Family, when we talk about love, patience, peace, gratitude, difficulties, common sense, problems, marriage, bravery, satisfaction, you name it. Whenever there is an event or anything going on in Igbo land, ILU IGBO, ILULU IGBO, ILULU is used. In Igbo land, we have talked about it being proverb being a lubricant, but also we have used this to talk about our word art. So you also hear people say, "Oka wo nka." Spoken word is an art. because all of these, they make the Igbo language sound better, sound sweeter, sound more exciting for those who can really use the proverbs. It calls for the mastery of the art. If you can use a suitable proverb in communicating a thought across, then you become a really good communication person in Igbo land. I can tell you that one of the joys of growing up in an Igbo household is, first of all, listening to my father when we were growing up. God rest his soul. And we will be listening when he talks to other elders or even talk to us. I use some of these proverbs, which really we didn't understand what they were because we were also growing up in a different culture, including ours, that are spoken at the house. Then when I got married, I also was lucky to get married to a man who is deep into tradition as the Eze of the community, who uses so well. And so today you will hear many people, if I go back to my father's home, people saying, oh, he used to say this or that, according to him, this or that. And then in my marital home, a whole lot of them also people who remember my father-in-law and said he used to say this or he used to say that. So that is the beauty of the Igbo proverb. ILULU. Igbo proverbs are very flexible and allow the speaker to manipulate words, to lighten or deepen the proverb to suit the idea the speaker wants to get across. So sometimes people get lost in it and other people don't understand. And that is always a joke that if I interpret a proverb or an ilulu for you, then it looks like I paid for your mother's bride price or something like that. So it's always a fun thing to do. But I want to bring your attention to this slide. Some will always start the ilulu or ilu with Asena, it is said that. Namse, my father said. Ndi okenye, ndi oki say, or elders or ancestors said. Mbe. And so sometimes we use animals, portray animals talking or saying something. And some of these could be fictitious by nature, but hey, it is what it is, okay? Nabembe with the turtle, what the turtle said. No, I don't know how many people have heard this turtle say something, but it makes for the use of the language and makes for it to really sound great. Even to the extent of saying, Onyara say, okay, the madman said, the crazy person on the road. So it's funny because sometimes we look at the mad person on the street as having, talking nonsense sometimes, but sometimes they make sense because we also quote them what they say. So go figure. So I just gave a few examples of Ilu Igbo here. Anolata Echiwo, or people say Bonta. The interpretation there is that, there is always tomorrow. If you miss something today, there is always tomorrow. That's the general interpretation I'm going to give it. Some people will interpret it differently also. So whatever you miss today, wait for it. You may get it in touch with it or get it done tomorrow. The second one says, Ebe onyebi kona wachi. You take care of where you are. Wherever you call home is where you take rest. And in other words, charity begins at home, wherever home is. You hear people say that a whole lot. Okay, soro ngwere mamini. Ahụkọcha ngwere, ọ ga-akọkwa oke. In other words, when you are mimicking somebody else, when you're imitating other people, whatever is good for the goose may not be good for the gander. That's just the interpretation of it. So be careful how you imitate because whatever is good for this person may turn out not to be so good for you. Okay. Now, sometimes people look, and I searched before I sat down to do this. to see how many people out there or have written books on ILU IGBO or ILULU IGBO or have produced anything. You'll see a little bit of skimpy this or that. And the reason why sometimes I put these on slides so that people will go back, will be able to go back and find these as resources or read through them. There's also the audio part that you don't have to say this, you can just listen to that. That's why I have done two parts. But if you really want to get a whole lot more by using your visuals, that's why I created PowerPoints that go with my YouTube channel. So if you are looking for where to get ILULU IGBO and also to lay your hands on a book that you can take around or give as gifts to people, to encourage Igbo language learning and speaking, here is one. I belong to several, my local area, my community, Mbise. Those of you who know me know how proud I am of my community, Mbise Nation. And so they have a lot of platforms that really discuss things, Mbise. A good example is the MPR, Mbise Policy Roundtable, that is led by Professor M.OPARAOJI. You have other ones like Ikorombise, led by Architect Iku. And then you have so many others. But I want to also bring attention to this particular one, Greater Mbise Development. It's a forum that is made up of think tanks of Mbise Nation, great sons and daughters, forward-thinking ones as well, who convene together to talk about how to make the community better. And this particular one that I called Greater Mbise Development Forum was convened by Professor Polycarp Moha. And the smooth running of this group is also supported by great admin that he has put together, the team. So one cool thing that they just did recently is to produce an Igbo language book, the ILULU IGBO. ILULU, as you can see the picture there, is now on sale. The contents of this book were, as of the contributions of the platform members. So those who could and those who know, again, like I shared, not everybody who is Igbo really knows how to use the ILULU or proverbs or produce them or say them. So this is also a learning curve for many of us who are born Igbo, are born in Igbo land. So those who could contribute, and there were many of them. So kudos to all of them. There is a committee of editors who are, again, looking to cross all the T's and dot all the I's some more, and refining what is already in there, even if it means a second edition or updating the ones we have. And they solicit a whole lot from people to say, hey, if you have an ILULU here or there that is not in this book, please send it forward and they will make it put in there. And the person that is leading this as editor-in-chief is a great, a hardworking brother called Mazi Desmond Obani. So if you ever want a copy of this book, and I recommend highly for people to get that, the information is there on the slide, or you can write me via my email address that I always provide in NDISCO2000@gmail.com. And I could forward your name or the information to you. It's a good book to have. It's a good book to have to give as a gift. The book was presented to members during the Christmas holidays just to show them what it's like. But the bigger launching is coming up soon in the next few months. But again, it's only 2,000 naira. And I don't know what the equivalent is. It's in dollars. But again, it's a wonderful book. The cover is awesome. And again, because of time, I can't give you more information on this. So I am going to, stop here for today. Again, as I promised before, I wouldn't be giving you longer production and cut the time short so that it's easier for you to listen or to watch. I thank you for always tuning in, and for those of you who keep sending topics my way, I did not ignore them. I have so much on my plate, but I will get to all the topics as we go. I also have people, that are waiting now for live discussions on topics that touch every one of us. Again, we're going back to basics. We're going to help our children get the culture into the systems like we wanted them to, and we're going to make it easier on them. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can send stars and also subscribe to my Facebook page, and ask others to follow as well. We can do much better if we all come together to promote our language, the Igbo language. We don't have any other that is like it. So join me in doing that, and join others as well. And we can start by looking at the ILULU book that we could, sit with our children and giving them one book, saying to them, okay, tell me an ILULU for today. And you never know when it sticks. Okay. Thanks again for listening. This is your hostess, Dr. Maslin Ndigbo, saying sayonara.